Hello and welcome to Thrive in 5. You'd think after 10 plagues, the Jewish people would have had an easy time walking out of Egypt. But our oral tradition says otherwise. It teaches us that only 1/5 left. 4/5 remained behind in Egypt. And the question is, what was the difference between the 1/5 that left and the 4/5 that didn't? I'd like to suggest that on some level, the 4/5 were the smart ones. What were they being asked to do? They were being asked to risk their lives and the lives of their loved ones, to leave the place, the only place they'd ever known, to walk into a completely barren and inhospitable desert with 10 to 15 million people, larger than the population of New York City, and head towards a land that they'd never even seen. It's not surprising that 4/5 stayed behind. I believe the 1/5 that left, they didn't do the feasibility studies. They didn't look at the reasons. They knew one thing, and they knew one thing only. They could not stay in Egypt. They made the decision that they were going to leave. Pesach is much more than the story of our national liberation. It's a contemporary story. It's an allegory about how we can personally be free today. This kind of freedom is not the ability to do whatever we feel like. It's the ability to actualize our true potential, to live the kinds of life that we deep down know we should be living. And when it comes to this kind of freedom, I think our story has a very powerful and essential lesson to teach us. See, when it comes to many things in life, we don't have ultimate say. We don't have control. We can exercise day in and day out, eat all the right foods, and still get ill. We can die. We can work incredibly hard. We can make great decisions sometimes and still not achieve the financial success that we dream of. But when it comes to the key issue in life, the most essential issue, which is what kind of people are we going to become? What kind of lives are we going to live? There is only one factor in play, and that is our will, our desire. And when we forget that, and we start looking at all the reasons and doing all the feasibility studies, we're forgetting our power. We're living in an illusion. Or another way of saying that is, our reasons are ultimately excuses. This is something I've learned from my own kids in a very profound way. I've noticed that when my kids really want something, it is absolutely amazing how tenacious they can be. No matter how clear I make it that they're not going to get their way, they'll ask again, they'll ask from a different angle. But in the same conversation, if I say, I can't do that, but could you mind taking out the garbage? All of a sudden they'll say, I can't. And what I learned from that is, when it comes to the key issues in life, when we say I can't, what it really means is, on some level, I don't want to. I haven't made the decision. We don't understand our Torah as simply being God's book of rules, do's and don'ts. Our understanding of Torah is it's actually a description of us, of our deepest desires. So when the Torah tells us, for example, that we need to not just live, but live with joy, it's telling us that this is something that we are truly capable of. So that when we look around in our lives and we tell ourselves that we'll be happy one day once the issues that are in front of us disappear, when we see all the reasons why we can't be happy, what we're forgetting is the next guy who is, he's got those reasons too. It's just that on some level, he's made the decision to be happy. When our Torah tells us that we have to be lovers of our fellow human beings, and we're looking around at all the difficult people in our lives and telling ourselves that, we would be if it wasn't so challenging with these people, what we're forgetting is the next guy who does love his fellow human being, he has those same difficult people in his life. It's just that on some level, he's made the decision. He may not know when, he may not even be aware of it, but on some level, he has adopted the belief, he has made the decision that it's a world filled with lovable people. Pesach hasn't really come to teach us how to be free. Pesach comes to teach us that we are actually already free. We simply need to remember our true power. And when we forget and start doing the feasibility studies and start looking for what's reasonable, what we're really doing is we're making excuses. The only way we'll discover our true power is when we stop looking at all the reasons why we can't. Have a wonderful Chag Pesach, and we'll see you again soon for another Thrive in 5.